Other headlines are following this morning, calling for transparency. Several people coming forward to speak up at the Denmark School District School Board meeting.
And this comes after an investigation into a potential data security incident back in January. Some teachers telling us their employee tax information was compromised. Emily Byer joining us in studio with the latest on this incident and what you should do if your tax information is at risk. Emily.
Yeah, Tammy and Aisha, it was a full room at last night's board meeting, and that's where we heard more about how this incident is impacting staff. Last month, we learned of this potential data breach after staff members told us their identities may have been compromised. At that time, we reached out to the school district. They released a public statement confirming the incident impacted district systems, adding that this was communicated to all staff and school district families in early February. During public comment last night, teachers said there's been a lack of transparency over how the situation was handled, saying that at least 60 current and former employees were impacted by the breach. One teacher speaking out, expressing her frustrations after learning the district had allegedly received a ransom note, despite the district saying it had no evidence of any unauthorized access to employee tax information.
I cannot help but feel that if the precautionary measures outlined in the March 26 email regarding the potential data breach that had been communicated earlier, much of this distress could have been avoided. Additionally, when directly asked whether our personal data was secure, we were reassured that it was, which further contributed to a false sense of security.
Now, the district says it immediately contacted cybersecurity professionals after finding out to determine the scope of the incident. We asked a tax expert, what should folks do if they find themselves in this situation or similar? He said they should request an IRS identity protection PIN. If someone already filed for you, your electronic filing will get rejected. You'll need to paper file and attach the ID theft form with that, your IP PIN, and work with a taxpayer advocate to prove that your return is the right one. Mail that certified with a return receipt so you know when they get it. You'll do the same process with the state. It could take a few months to get it all sorted out.